Now, I am not a prowler. I am not a bartender. I am not the black guy from Designing Women. But we never had a period where we were really hostile toward one another. When we split up, it was painful, and it was very difficult. But did you know that Gregory Hines, the famous dancer and actor, kept a terrible secret? Many people loved him for his dancing skills and kind personality, but did you know he struggled with something very serious that he never shared? Born to do it, what was the secret that Gregory Hines took to his grave? How did it affect his life and career? Let's dive into the shocking truth behind this mystery. Even though the decision wasn't mine to become a dancer, ultimately, I made the decision to stay with it. Gregory Hines was born on February 14, 1946, in New York City. He grew up in Washington Heights near Harlem. He was the second child of his parents, Alma Plus and Maurice Hines Sr. His father was a musician and even played semi-pro baseball. Gregory's grandmother, Ora Hines, danced at the famous Cotton Club in the 1920s. I began dancing at 3. My parents gave my brother and I dance lessons, like parents give their children piano or violin, just something I think to round us out, Gregory always said. He couldn't remember a time when he wasn't dancing. He and his older brother, Maurice, started young. Maurice was 5 years old, and Gregory was only 3 when they began tap dancing. Maurice was his first teacher, but their mother was the one who really pushed them to dance. She saw it as a way for them to escape the ghetto. Every week, she took them to the Apollo Theater to watch performances. By the time Gregory was 5, he and Maurice were already dancing at the Apollo Theater. That's where they met some of the greatest tap dancers ever, like Sandman Sims and Teddy Hale. Gregory once said that Teddy Hale was the first tap dancer he saw who made things up on the spot. That really inspired him. Tap dancing in those days was still an incredible art form, so they pursued it for us. Gregory and Maurice performed under the name the Hines Kids. They learned from famous choreographer Henry Ling, one of the best tap dance teachers in the world. Henry saw something special in them. Out of 400 kids at their dance school, Maurice and Gregory stood out the most. Henry believed they could be as big as the Nicholas Brothers, one of the greatest tap dance duos in history. In 1954, when Gregory was only 8 years old, he and Maurice made their Broadway debut in a musical called The Girl in Pink Tights. Gregory played a shoeshine boy, while Maurice played a newspaper boy. At age 9, Gregory met one of his idols, Sammy Davis Jr. Sammy became his mentor and a huge influence on his career. Around the same time, something scary happened. While playing in a vacant lot in Brooklyn, Gregory fell on a tree stump and it hit his right eye. He almost lost his vision. Though it affected him later in life, it never stopped him from dancing. Funny enough, Sammy Davis Jr. also lost one of his eyes, so Gregory felt a strange connection to him. He faced racism at a young age, Gregory said. I will always think of it as a place where I was able to grow up. I was able to learn a lot of things about myself. Gregory's journey was not always easy. He faced racism, family struggles, and the challenges of the entertainment business. When Gregory was about 11 years old, he had his first experience with racism. He was traveling with a musical group in Miami, Florida. Gregory and his family were from up north, where things were different. One day, he went to get some water and saw 2 water fountains. One was labeled for whites and the other for colored. Being a kid from the north, he thought colored meant the water was actually colored, like juice or soda. So, he went to drink from the white-only fountain, but before he could take a sip, 20 black cast members stopped him. They had to teach him about the South and how things worked there. That was the first time he truly understood racism. As teenagers, Gregory and his brother Maurice became known as the Hines brothers. Their father, who had been staying at home, decided to teach himself the drums. By 1963, he joined their act, and they changed their name to Hines, Hines and Dad. With their new act, they toured all over the world. They opened for big stars like Lionel Hampton and Gypsy Rose Lee. They were so good that other acts didn't want to perform after them because they couldn't compete. Even the legendary Ella Fitzgerald asked them to open for her. Even though Gregory was performing, his heart wasn't really in it. He was still young and wanted to hang out with his friends, play football, and spend time with his girlfriend. He even dreamed of becoming a football player, but he stayed in show business to support his family. In 1968, Gregory married a dance therapist named Patricia Pinella, and they had a daughter named Daria. Around that time, Gregory and Maurice were so popular that they were about to get their own TV show. This was before the Jeff, and they would have been the first black family with a TV series. But the people in charge said audiences wouldn't believe a black family on television. Can you imagine? That was a missed opportunity for history. After performing together for 10 years, Gregory and Maurice split up. They were constantly arguing, and Gregory had had enough. He was tired of the long hours, the endless traveling, and the money problems. Plus, he had developed a cocaine addiction, and it was taking a toll on him. Maurice, on the other hand, wanted to focus more on theater and acting, so they went their separate ways. Gregory always loved music. That was his passion, but things didn't go as planned. He had a falling out with his brother Maurice, and they stopped talking for years. If they saw each other, they would just walk past without saying a word. That beef was serious. At the same time, his marriage was falling apart. When he heard the song Neither One of Us by Gladys Knight and the Pips, he broke down in tears. He knew his marriage was over, and he was leaving his wife and family. In 1973, Gregory and his wife divorced. After that, he moved to Venice, California. In California, he changed a lot. He grew his hair long, started smoking pot, drinking a lot, and living like a hippie. He also started a jazz rock band called Severance. He wrote songs, sang, and played the guitar, but making money wasn't easy. He took small jobs, worked in restaurants, and even became a karate instructor. One person who helped him was Bill Cosby. Bill loaned Gregory $5,000 to get back on his feet. Eventually, Gregory got married again to a woman named Pamela Coslow, but his music career wasn't taking off. He wrote songs, but no one wanted to record them. Warner Brothers even turned him down. He was struggling, broke, and his wife had to take care of him. Gregory decided to move back to New York. He wanted a better job and to be closer to his daughter from his first marriage. Once he got back, he made peace with his brother Maurice. Maurice helped him get a role in a play called The Last Minstrel Show, where Gregory tap danced and played drums. Gregory hadn't tap danced in 8 years, but once he got back into it, everything started falling into place. In 1979, he landed a role in the Broadway play Eubie, and that was a big break for him. He was even nominated for a Tony Award for Best Featured Actor in a Musical. That same year, he and Maurice appeared on Sesame Street, teaching kids about near and far. Things kept getting better. In 1980, Gregory got a role in the play Coming Uptown and another play called Ain't Misbehavin' with Neil Carter. In 1981, he was in another Broadway play called Sophisticated Ladies, which celebrated Duke Ellington's music. The play ran for almost 2 years, but then Gregory got fired. He told the director that the play was boring, and they let him go. But his castmates stood up for him, protested, and in the end, the director was the one who got fired. After that, the play was changed to be more exciting, with a focus on the early days of the Duke Ellington Band. Gregory was getting more popular. People loved his tap dancing, and magazines and newspapers started writing about him, praising his talent. With all this attention, he started thinking about acting in Hollywood. It was actually actor Dustin Hoffman who encouraged him. Dustin saw Gregory perform one night and told him that he had real talent as an actor. Gregory never forgot that. It made him believe he could do more than just dance, and that's how his journey to Hollywood began. So, he began reading scripts, just trying to see what was out there. One of the first movies he read for was a basketball film called The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh. Then he was set to be in another movie called House of God with actor Howard Rollins. Now, you might remember Howard Rollins from the TV show In the Heat of the Night, but guess what? That movie never got released. Still, Gregory didn't give up. He kept pushing, and finally, he got his first real role. It was in a horror movie called Wolfen, and he played a medical examiner. You know why he got that role? Because he was good friends with the director. That helped a lot. After getting that part, Gregory decided acting was for him. Plus, unlike dancing, he didn't have to move around so much, and he really liked it. Then came a big opportunity in 1981. Gregory landed a role in History of the World, Part 1, a comedy by Mel Brooks. But here's the crazy part. He wasn't even the first choice. That role originally belonged to Richard Pryor. Now, you know Richard Pryor was one of the funniest comedians ever, but just days before filming, he suffered severe burns in an accident. Y'all remember that? He poured 151 proof rum on himself and set it on fire with a lighter. He ran outside, screaming, asking the Lord for another chance. Some say he was trying to commit suicide. Whatever the reason, he couldn't do the movie, so Gregory stepped in. After that, Gregory's acting career really took off. In 1983, he starred in Deal of the Century with Chevy Chase and Sigourney Weaver. That same year, he and his wife had a son, Zachary. Then, in 1984, Gregory got a big role in The Cotton Club, playing Sandman Williams alongside his brother Maurice Hines. They played characters inspired by the real-life Nicholas brothers. But here's something interesting, they weren't even the first choices. The studio originally wanted Cab Calloway and Richard Pryor for the movie. But Richard Pryor was busy with Superman 3 and The Toy, so the Hines brothers got the roles. The Cotton Club was supposed to be a movie about jazz, dancing, and the Harlem